So how do you create unity? Well, the first thing
Yes.
you do is you don't do multiculturalism. All right. And Pierre Trudeau, back in the 1970s, brought multiculturalism in my opinion, to do one thing, to keep English speaking Canadians fragmented into smaller groups. All right. And so there's nothing wrong with immigrant populations when they come to Canada being extremely proud of their past and their heritage. But there's a reason why they came to Canada.
Mhm.
The reason they came to Canada was for more opportunity, a better life, lack of fear, lack of totalitarian government, a strong democracy. When I served in the military all over the world, I constantly had people who came up, tapped my shoulder where my Canadian flag was, and said, "What a wonderful country. I sure wish we were born there. I sure wish we could live there." They knew intrinsically and constantly told me how they perceived Canada and the
Mhm.
wonderfulness of Canada. So why would immigrants come to Canada wanting to bring all the wars and all the fears and all the starvation to Canada? They want what Canada represents, not what they were fleeing, not what they were coming from, even if it was just for a better economic way of life. It includes all of Canada. So multiculturalism was defined back in the 70s, and you see many countries in Europe walking away from it now. But it was originally defined that you should be proud of your heritage. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But government then funded you to stay in your separate communities, not
Mm.
as a support group for first generation, but for all generations that continued. So government funding, i.e., taxpayers' dollars, nothing's for
Mhm.
free,
Yeah.
taxpayers paid to keep people in small ethnic enclaves that were funded to have their own centers, funded to have their own functions and parties, to march in the streets and bear their flags, not the Canadian flag, their flag. Well, the flag they left to become Canadians, but it was intentional and it was slow. It started off as this wondrous idea where you could bring together groups of people as they first arrived in the country with linguistic supports, with all the rest of understanding they would speak English or French, ultimately within a generation. But the whole idea of multiculturalism was to keep them in enclaves and ultimately then, as we see now, to pit them against each other.
Yeah.
So the whole concept of multiculturalism fights against national unity.